up, everyone? I'm Ruthina Porterfield, and this is Liberated Conversations with Ruthina. It's our devotion episode. It's what we do every single month to try to get the month started off right. And today we're going to be looking at how we live, which is the name of the devotion that we did for the month. We are going to be looking at how we live through circumstances, situations, seasons, trials, tribulations, and all that jazz. And I want to know how you navigate through that stuff too. So I want to hear from you. We want to hear your questions. We want to hear your thoughts. And we really want to hear this time because we only have one more devotion left for the year. So this is the one you want to get in on. So join the conversation. What's up, Erin? I'm here with my devotion partner. Super excited. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Ruthina. Thanks for having me today and having me back. And hey to everyone who's joining in today. We're excited to chat with you guys and talk.
We are so super excited. This was a good one. I think this was it was a really good one. It was a nice interactive one to be doing. Again, I want to remind you guys that to join the devotion, all you have to do is have the Bible app. I actually put up a kind of permanent Facebook post on how to join in so that from now on, you guys can kind of just pull that. As soon as you go to the Liberated Conversations with Ruthina Facebook page, the video is there and it'll take you through how to join in with us. But this devotion was pretty awesome.
I loved it because I felt like they kind of kept it real. It was kind of like real talk. Like it's fine to be like, oh, we're going to be, focused on God and holy and try to live our lives perfectly. But then they were kind of bringing it back down to earth, just like, here's the real things we struggle with on a day-to-day basis and how to really rest with God in those things and seek his face. So I loved that.
Yeah, I liked it. They gave their own personal experiences to kind of give examples of what they were trying to say. It was really good. And not to mention, are you familiar with the group Point of Grace? I'd heard of them. I think I had a cassette tape of theirs.
I never bought any of their music, but I definitely had heard it. And I think it was when I had just become a Christian, so I think maybe like 90s, like early 2000s.
Yeah, I feel like it was the 90s. So yeah, they've been out for a while.
Yeah. It was like an all-female vocal group. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, pretty cool. All right, so let's jump right in, right?
Sounds good.
So it was a 5-day devotional. Mm-hmm. All of the ones that we've done so far have been 5 days. I feel like it's a sweet spot. The first day specifically focused on the seasons of our life, right? And the thing that I got, it's so funny. The thing that I got the most from it was the prayer and how I remember I wrote down writing, Lord, help me look beyond my circumstances. And honey, let me tell you, when I tell you that has to be like a constant prayer of mine.
Yeah.
Because it is not easy. It's just not. Like, what do you think?
I think it's this. Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like in practice, it's easy to say, my hope is in God on a day-to-day basis. I'm not going to let anything take my faith or steal my joy. But then when it comes down to brass tacks, it's like, if I did a little diagram of the fluctuation of my emotions during just one day's period, I feel like there's all kinds of oscillations and ups and downs. And I do notice that it's kind of a tangent, but on the days when I don't purposefully center my thoughts on God first thing in the morning, for me, it's like we were talking about one time, the morning thing for me. If I don't do that, those ups and downs are really stark, like they're just up and down. And if I do, then the circumstances, they come, but I'm still like, I'm riding those waves, but I'm riding them. And I'm like, okay, me and God have got this, together. And Yeah, but it's rough.
No, yeah, you said a very important word, purposefully. And it is something that I have been dealing with. It's so funny. Last month was a tough month. I'm going to say kind of spiritually. In fact, yesterday I kind of wrote down, okay, God, look, last month was deep. It was kind of deep for me. And it had a lot to do with that word purposefully, those days where I purposefully spoke some specific scripture or purposefully said some specific prayer where it might have worked. And then there were days where I just didn't feel like it. Like it just wasn't there. And then here comes that word purposefully again, where those days where you have to purposefully find some kind of strength or energy to say, okay, I need strength. Like you have to purposefully speak to him and purposefully be honest with him and purposefully be real with him, saying, look, I'm just not feeling it. And I need your help today. Like I'm not seeing you at all. Like I'm just not seeing you. And I need to see you. But it takes purposefully saying that, right? Like it takes purposefully.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I totally hear you. And I think the thing that comes to mind is where in the Psalms, I believe it says, David encouraged himself in the Lord in those days where it's like you don't see it, you don't feel it, you don't know or understand what God is doing or if he's even there, but you sort of have to, like you said, stoke your own faith with inside of you. So almost like, God, you've done this. I'm going to, like you said, call out and say, like, I'm going to speak this scripture and I don't see it, I don't feel it, but I'm going to center my mind on this. And I think that's hard. It's really hard to do. And we all have those days. So I'm sorry to hear that. That was how your month went.
Oh, girl, no, it's life. It's life, girl. It's just life.
Yeah.
I noticed also I was looking back at my comments, and one of the things I said was help me to trust your timing, because that is I think that's a prayer that we all tend to pray at some point. I feel like you've even written that in your comments or have said that to me at some point.
Yeah.
Because
I'll be transparent. I have a really hard time trusting God sometimes with being single, with not having a family yet, things that I really, really desire. And just to encourage anyone who's listening and just to encourage each other, I mean, trusting God with timing is one of the biggest things I struggle with. And
oh gosh,
it's just, that's something
it's hard.
Talk to him about on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's hard. It's so funny, especially as you get older and you saw your life in some certain way and nothing looks like I always laugh because in my senior book from high school, there was a page, I don't know if you had this, or maybe I've said this to you before, where there was a page in the senior book where you keep all of your mementos and all this stuff. And there's a page, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Where do you see yourself 10 years from now? Wow. And you fill that out when you're 17, 18 years old. And when I tell you, it looks nothing like that page that I wrote, like nothing.
Wow.
Like it's just like, well, hold up. Like, and it has that part for each 5 year, 10 year, it has that checkbox. Single, it was single, married, or attached. And I remember, and I remember for 5 years, I checked the attached box. And for 10 years, I checked married box. Yeah, well, it's been 25 years. And not
I feel you on that one.
So, I will say this. I have, I'm cool with the single. This sounds really weird. I'm cool with the single part. I'm not cool with the family part.
Mm-hmm.
Which it's hard. because it's supposed to come together, the marriage and family.
Right.
But beginning, oh gosh, girl, we're about to get real transparent. Okay.
I know. Let's do it, because if it's going to help someone else out, I say let's go for it.
Let's just go for it. So I had to, I'll say about a few years ago, I had to accept the fact, the fact that I wasn't ever going to bear children. And that was a difficult one, because you see your life a certain way. And you go to these weddings, and then you get the notices of this friend is having a baby, and this friend is having another baby, and this friend is having a family, and all of this stuff. And you're like, okay, God, what's up? Like, what's up? And when I began to kind of accept that, then it's like, okay, well, if that's not going to work, well, what about this? Okay, well, if that's not happening, okay, well, what about this? And constantly moving the timeline of marriage and family. Like initially it was, oh, by 30, I'm sure. Oh, I'm sure. Oh, by 35, I'm sure. Like, I'm sure. And then 40 hits. And then it's like, so by 45, like you just, all these, the timeline keeps moving. And it's like, what, not to mention your career, especially us as actresses.
I know.
It's like all these different, the timing thing is so hard. And I love, there's a lyric in Kirk Franklin's last album on one of his songs that says, trusting your timing is not easy. And it's not. But it will, and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, because day 5 really is, I went back again and read through day 5, and I'll get to how that helped. Like just only a couple of days ago, but yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing all of that. And I can definitely relate. And I'll say, timeline wise, we're in the same, similar situation. And the decades go by, and I think for me, I've considered like, so what does this look like? This is where I'm at. Is this something I would want to even consider doing on my own, say like adopt or something like that? And that's something I've considered. I wouldn't do that in this moment, but that's something that's like, it's in the back of my mind. And I think the idea that life plays out differently than we expect, and also that God answers prayers in a way that may not look how we expect, and being honest with him about the disappointment. The gratefulness is the thing that really lubricates my brain to stay joyful every day, being grateful and mindful of what I do have and the things that I am thankful for, and the ways that I'm trusting him for those big prayers, but then making those small everyday risks and taking those steps that will position me to still receive the things that I'm asking for, but also what's my part in that? Like, am I putting myself in a position where I can meet new people, or, I am taking care of my body so that I, let's say let's say I adopt a child in like several years from now, like, will I be healthy enough to like live and be strong and healthy to raise them,
Right.
Kind of like I'm getting super deep now, but like,
no, go ahead.
I kind of just tell God, here's the things I really like, my heart has really desired for a long time. But I know that like, we don't always get what we want. But at the same time, I don't give up hope. So there's this tension there. It's like like a tightrope that we're sort of walking on between surrender and hopefulness, and then finding peace in the middle place of that, and finding that harmony or balance. So
it's hard.
Yep.
Yeah. The balance between surrender and hopefulness. Girl, that's good. The balance. And I've never, like, you don't understand my heart. Because I've always, it's that battle of saying, okay, I'm okay with whatever you decide. I'm okay. And for me, it takes a long time. You know what I found myself asking, Erin? I struggle with this. I'm going to say particularly career wise, and I'm going to say marriage wise, because again, I've had to accept the children thing.
Yeah.
So, and it took some years, but I have accepted it.
Yeah.
But a big thing that I constantly have to ask him and ask myself is, am I okay if you say this is it? Like, oh, just okay, my insides, I can't even bring myself to do that, because
Yeah.
it's this idea of, even if I say it, does that, oh gosh, wow, there are no words. Like, there are no words. And so that thing of saying, yeah, I'm okay if it's just me and you, God. And it's funny, I was cool with saying that when I was 28 years old and I had to move, and he told me to move to LA. Cool. Hey, if it's just me and you, yeah, no problem.
Right.
But once you talk, like, because you go through all those verses, right? You go through all those verses of, okay, it's not good for a man to be alone. And you specifically created females to be here, to be helpmeets. We're supposed to be helpmeets to each other, and all of this stuff. You go through that, and I'm like, hold up, does that like not apply to me? And then I get freaked out when I read stuff like Paul, who never got married, and like, you get freaked out, and it's, I don't know, it's
a deep topic, and I think, I think a couple different things. One, I think there's like almost like this, I don't know, collective trauma, I think, for women, where it's like, it's been so instilled in our minds, and I'll speak for myself. It's been so instilled in my mind that these are essential pieces of what it means to be a woman. And so for me, it's like, well, if I don't experience those, or I don't receive those things, then does that mean I'm not fully experiencing what it means to be alive as for me, a woman on this earth in this life? And I don't think, I don't know. And then the other thought that came, so I'm not sure. And then the other thought is, like, I know a lot of women who are either widows or they're divorced for whatever reason, and they decided to never date, never marry again. And they feel so content and so happy like that. And so, you know, when I speak to them, it's really difficult. One is like a family member. And when I speak to them, it's hard for them to understand, like, they get it, but it's like, but I haven't experienced that yet. So I haven't like had it and then lost it. And I can say I at least experienced it. Whereas they have actually traveled through that journey. And then I guess the little end piece of that thought is like, they're so content and they're so happy. Their life is so fulfilling to them. I have hope. I have hope when I look at that and I see they're spreading love. They're loving people. They're fulfilling their purpose on the earth. And they don't have this life partner doing it with them, but they're still making a huge impact and doing amazing things. And so that encourages me.
Yeah, I will say that, because remember what I said at the beginning, my big thing is not necessarily the singleness as much as it is the family part for me, right? Because one of the reasons why I'm okay with the singleness is, although I've never been married, I have been in love. And it's only been that one time. And it was a beautiful experience, just absolutely beautiful. And I would not trade that for anything. I have the whole, the saying, I don't know if it's Shakespearean or what, but it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. I can say that I've experienced being in love and with someone, and it's only been that one time. And so I think for me, that's probably what kind of sustains me through singleness. And also as God begins to deal with me about loving me and how he loves me, like God even showed me how he loved me through that person.
Wow.
And so because he showed me that, it kind of sustains me in the singleness that I'm in. But the family unit
Mm-hmm.
is something that I've longed for longer than I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
I have always longed, especially being raised by a single parent,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing, I've had great examples of marriage in my life, but they've never been in my house.
Mm-hmm.
They've never been in my immediate family, but I've had those examples, and I'm like, okay, God, so you gave me these examples early in life, and you continue to give me these examples. I don't want any more. Like, I want the real thing.
Yes.
I mean, thanks for the examples and whatever lessons. Hey, I'll write it down. Note taking, note taking, but what's up? What's up? And you know what it is also? Girl, we are being real straight up. Okay.
Thank you for trusting me, by the way, to have this conversation.
Real talk, yeah, it gets lonely.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I've said that. And again, it's not the singleness for me necessarily.
Yeah.
Because
family that you're really craving.
It's family. It's that close knit, especially losing my mama at 16, like just family, knowing that there are people that have your back no matter what, like that sincerely. And someone, for me, I have, again, like you said, that whole female innate thing. I want to nurture. I want stepchildren. I long for that as much as anyone longs for kids. I want that. And that innate thing to nurture and to take care of and to impart into, and to instill. I want that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm telling you, the only thing that sustains me through singleness is that experience, and something that I actually write about in my book, that one experience. But that sustains me through singleness. But I think I'm still trying to find what will sustain through the loneliness.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad you brought that up. Because that's something I actually was really struggling with this last week. And so it's so interesting that we're talking about it. So I just felt that feeling coming upon me, and I would look at it. And so the thing I kind of came to the realization of was a couple of things. One is that this is all just me talking about myself. For me, I was putting my expectations on people and on experiences to fill those gaps. And so I would get really disappointed if something didn't like live up to my expectation, and I would feel like lonely inside because of it. It's kind of hard to explain. And then I was talking with God, and I was like, I just want to enjoy my own company and be at peace with that, but also enjoy your company, God. It's like it's twofold. And I was thinking about a quote I saw, I think on Instagram the other day by Tracy Ellis Ross, and she was saying about learning how to enjoy her loneliness and what she can do and how she can be productive in that space where she's alone, but also enjoy her own company. And I think it helped me shift from I have to choose to shift in those moments from a sad perspective and to a, well, this is who I am, and this is where I'm at, and this is the time I've been given, and I'll use it, and I'll use it wisely, and also enjoy that. And so, like, for example, yesterday, I took myself to the beach and spent time with God and listened to like church on live stream, and it was so refreshing. I was laying there with the waves just crashing, and I'm like laying on the sand, and I was like, you know what? I'm so glad I did this, because I woke up feeling lonely. And then I spent some intentional time with God, and then also enjoying something that I enjoyed doing. So I purposely tried to like take a Sabbath day yesterday. And that really did fill my soul in a way. So that was encouraging.
I think I will say that I enjoy myself.
Good.
I just get frustrated. Like
Yeah.
day after day after day after day
Yeah.
after day, after month after month, after year after year. It's just after a while it does add up, especially when you start going through stuff like the other things of life, the other circumstances and seasons and changes of life.
Yeah.
That and then that's when it pops up and you have no one to go through it with. And so that makes it difficult. And you know what? Let's be real, okay? We are human beings, and I the last relationship I was in was like 10 years ago, I think, and like there's something to be said about getting that phone call from some guy saying, hey, just checking on you. There's something to be said about that. There's something to be said about knowing that there's someone thinking about. There's something to be said about those things. So let's be real, okay?
Oh, yeah.
We're humans. We're humans. And he created us with this with a longing for community.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
He created us with this longing for community. Now, again, we can be all deep and spiritual and say, but he's supposed to fulfill that. But when he created Adam with that longing for community, he created someone else to share it with. So what's up?
Yeah, totally agree. And I totally am on the same page with you. Yeah, I think in those times when I have those experiences, it doesn't take away my desire or need to still have that other experience. It's like,
right.
But I totally am on the same page with you.
Yeah, it's a situation. So
yeah,
we're going to pray each other through this season. How about that?
Sounds great.
We're going to pray each other through this season. Girl, day 2. This is hilarious.
I love it.
So day 2 was supposed to be about consistency. And I know from day 2, I noted Luke 16:10, which was the verse that they had us focus on. He who is faithful in the little things, will be given much. And for me, I when we talk about purposefully, right? And consistency, that whole idea of every single day speaking whatever verses and every single day praying what you need to pray to get through, because that's what's supposed to kind of maintain that relationship with him, and that's what's actually supposed to sustain you. But my struggle is when you do it day after day and it feels as if you're still in the same spot 6 months later, a year later. Oh God, are we griping? Is this a griping session, God, about you?
I don't think so. I think we're just being honest, but you got to go with what your gut tells you. But
yeah. But yeah, I think I will say this: when I hit those days where something is off or my spirit, it doesn't feel as strong as it usually is, I can track it back to, okay, you didn't do this or you didn't say this, not as a ritual, but bottom line, you just didn't spend any time feeding your spirit.
Yes.
And your spirit is another part of who you are. Just like your body, you have to feed it every single day. And you're going to notice if you give it too much sugar or not enough water, your spirit is the same way. You have to feed it give it too much music and not enough word.
Yeah.
Right.
I totally agree with you. That's such a great way to look at it, is just like if you were feeding your body. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to see what you noted Luke 16:10 too.
I did. So my comment was kind of towards being consistent with my new business that I started recently, and then my acting career. And I do see I do see the long-term benefits of being consistent daily. And
Right.
to me, it was encouraging to look at that scripture and say, oh yeah, this is a universal law that God has embedded into the universe, that when we are consistent, um, good, you see progress and good things will come of that. And if you're faithful, with, God will give you more to uh, be a good steward of, essentially,
Right.
would be the word. Yeah.
Right. Which kind of leads us into day 3 about hopes and dreams,
Mm-hmm.
because we have some big hopes and dreams. Like, I don't know, I dream big. One, I have what I call her my BAF. Like, you have how you have your BFFs. I call her my BAF. She is my best acting friend. And one of the reasons why is because we have some really, really big dreams regarding acting. And we talk about those things, and we have big faith about it, but we also have those when we have those down days.
Yeah.
They are really down days where we have to dig each other out. And but here's the cool thing about this particular day. I really, first of all, it had the verse Proverbs 16:3 about committing your ways to him, which is something that I had come across a few years back. I'll say around 2017. I had come across that verse about trusting him with your plans, and he'll establish them. But boy, when I read that part about hope and dreams, they shouldn't be in your passions. They shouldn't be your identity. And it made me stop and think.
Right?
Like, is that how I define myself? And it made me re-ask a question that I had not asked myself in a while. If I don't get what I think I truly believe is what God has for me, if I'm wrong, am I okay with that? And I don't know if I can say yes just yet.
Yeah.
Like,
that's a big question.
And I the answer to that, what they had was help to pray, God, you help me define and refine my dreams. And that kind of I feel like if you do that, then the answer to the first question isn't so difficult.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
That does make sense. Yeah. Because I do think we're on a journey. So like the things that I thought, God spoke this to me and this is what I believe I'm going to, do when I move to Los Angeles. And like, it's not that I heard wrong completely. It's more like it was mixed in with a lot of my own thoughts and desires. And I think discerning those out can be hard. And so sometimes we don't know what the path will be until we get to step 3 or 4 or 5, until we're standing on it. And then also, with acting, that's a tough one for for my mindset. I kind of see it as I'm a successful human being because I'm fully alive and I'm connected to my creator and I'm loving people as best I can and loving God. But of course I still want those things. And if I get them, those will be like the cherry on top. But there's a lot of tension there, especially with acting. I think that as actors, we are sort of indoctrinated into a mindset of to make it our identity, and that's sort of the most noble thing to do with that type of passionate pursuit. And I don't think it's wrong. I think it's part of our identity. And at the beginning of the pandemic, I really had to parse apart, this is changing right now. And so who am I and what do I want to do with my life? Do I need to change and like focus on a different aspect of my identity, focus more on this other business I want to start or find another way to express the acting piece right now. And it'll look like something else for a little while. And I think all of that's so valid, Ruthina. Like what you're saying is so true. As artists, especially, I feel like we really take that in and it's really a part of us. And it's a good thing. I think it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I wish I had the notebook with me. I did another devotion earlier this year, and it had a prayer in it that I read just this morning. Hand to God, read it just this morning. And the prayer was, help me, don't, God, help me not to let my dreams and my passions draw attention to me, but help me to always seek the purpose for it to draw attention to you. And that goes into help asking God to define what those dreams are. Because if those dreams and those desires and those passions are not drawing attention to him, but they're drawing attention to you, then is that really his dream for your life? And when I read it, I was like, okay. And I did a reevaluation.
Wow. Yeah, that's
did a reevaluation. I'm like, okay, even from something as simple as this podcast to as big as me standing on a stage getting that Academy Award. Like, okay, how is holding this gold statue, how is that going to draw attention to you? And I can make up all kinds of ways of how it's going to do it, right? I can rationalize how that might, I can rationalize all day long, but at the core, is it drawing attention to him? And so, so I don't know if that's a season where he's taking us to make sure that we evaluate that part of our lives. You know, I said to God one day, I was like, look, you've given me this desire since I was a little girl. So this is something that I know is from you.
Right.
Don't let me taint it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the prayer for me.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
So, you talked a little bit about comparison, which I really want to talk about because bump acting, that's just all over the place.
Yeah.
This whole idea of comparison. Yeah. And we're so, boy, if social media doesn't present it's like a big room where it's just comparison. Like,
yeah, I feel like on days when I'm just scrolling, getting lost in rabbit holes, you know, whatever celebrity, I mean, whether it's like, you know, I'm not going to name certain ones, but people that, you know, look perfect or they seem like they have a perfect life or career, or the career that I wish that I had. Something I've been thinking about lately is like, I don't really know what it's like to be them. And I don't know what it took for them to be who they are, and would I want to have sacrificed those same things or been through that? Probably not.
Yeah.
Another thing I've been thinking, and my friend Amaris actually said that to me one time, and I think that's true. And another thing is like, if we really believe that we're all unique and special and we're here for a purpose, then there's no one that can take my place. And I know that rationally, but then it's hard not to look to the right or left, you know, as they say, like, stay in your own lane. And, you know, there's like those memes that go around that say like, the only person you should compare yourself against is yourself. So like, I've been trying to do that, and it does help. Like, am I getting up, working on a scene? Am I preparing to do the kind of work that I want to be paid to do at the next level of wherever I'm feeling I want to go next? You know, like, am I doing my part? And then am I trusting God with his part? And then am I, yeah, it's just like, so
it's so hard. Because it's not just with career for me, but when you talk relationship and family, I'll tell you one of the most difficult things for me, and I've gotten out of it. But I have one of my, I call her, she's like my niece, but she's also like one of my best friends. And I always talk about, it is so difficult to be this close best friends. And I don't know if I've said it to her. So if she is watching, oh my gosh, Keela, you about to hear it. Okay. But one of the most difficult things for me with being friends and nieces and so close with her is watching her live a life that I thought I was going to have. She has been blessed with, and I mean down to even the minute details, Erin. I remember when she got a townhouse, and I think was she in Hawaii? I can't even remember where she was, but she was because she lived in Hawaii for a little while. Like yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And so she got a townhouse, and I remember her calling me and telling me about it. And all I could think in the back of my head was, God, I've always wanted a townhouse. I've always wanted to live in a townhouse for a little while. Like little things like that, down to the big things of she got her like master's and on her way to PhD, and she got married and having to stand in her wedding. And when she asked me to be the godmother to her daughter, and she's 10 years younger than me. I'm watching her live this life, her kind of beginning to excel in her career and being so super happy for her, and her living every single stage in the order that I had seen for my life.
Wow.
It was like watching the life that I had dreamed of for myself.
Oh my gosh.
Being lived by someone else that I love so dearly, and having to stand in that and be happy at the same time. And she's a Jesus loving, wonderful, just beautiful soul. Beautiful. I'm just watching her marry this wonderful man who's a great husband, and she's active in her ministry and all of these stuff. And I am in LA struggling to pay rent for my apartment, like just like, with no kids, no husband, no career. And it's like,
yeah.
And it's like, how do you not compare? It's like,
wow.
That
sounds incredibly difficult.
It was extremely difficult. It's extreme. It got to a point, there are times where I have to limit my phone calls with her, because I know that it's hard for me. Boy, if she is watching now, you know why we don't talk so often. I struggle with being on the phone sometimes and listening to everything that's happening, even though we're good friends. So I know some of her struggles, right?
Right.
But that comparison thing says, that's all you're going through? That's what the comparison thing says. You struggling to pay rent, Ruthina. Like, you're struggling to do this. You're struggling to do that. You know, you go through those things. So yeah, with every wedding, the comparison from career to everything, it's just there, and you fight it.
Yeah.
You fight it. But I think one of the things that I wrote was this day 3. This was day 3 or day 4. I've complete. Yeah, it's day 4.
Okay.
Oh yeah. And I said refer to plan, because I think one of the things that I said was when God said that us comparing, and we have a comment, us comparing ourselves is like a slap in the face.
Yeah.
To what God has gifted us with. And here is a comment. Everything comes with a cost, though, which is one of the things that you said, Erin. One of the things that you said, you don't know the cost for the life that someone lives. She is committed to a life. And this is actually a friend of mine. She's actually familiar with the friend that I was talking about.
Hey, Lolita. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. She's
right on.
Yeah, you're committed to life. I'm going to read it out loud just for once it hits the podcast. But everything comes with a cost, though. She is committed to a life. You are free. She may be desiring the freedom you have as a single. And I hear that comparison. I hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that particular person watching, she's married with kids, so she could talk about that from a personal standpoint.
I have a lot of friends who are married with kids, a few kids, a lot of kids, no kids. And that is something I've heard them say to me over the years, but there's something, and it doesn't negate like the ache in my heart that I feel whenever, I hear about another birthday or another baby coming. It's like, I'm so happy for them. And I'm also, there's an incredible sadness inside of me as well. And I don't think it's not a malicious selfishness. It's really
No.
an innate recognition of a deep longing, I think.
Yeah, and I'm so glad. This is one of the reasons why I'm grateful to be doing this devotion with you, because being single is often talked about in the Black community, specifically amongst Black women. The struggle with it, and the deep longing for it. And I don't think we think about or realize that other races, specifically white women, that you guys feel this too. And I love that we're able to talk about this, you and I, because it's a reminder that we're going through this together.
That's so fascinating.
It's a deep struggle.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons is because Black women are expected to do so much. We carry the brunt, and we are expected to be the man and the woman a lot of times. We are expected, and this is even sometimes in marriage, we are expected to be the emotionally strong ones. We are expected to be, there is that whole stigma and stereotype of the strong Black woman. And we are called to task for it in our singleness. We are, it is actually one of the things that people say keeps us single. It is because we are told that it is intimidating. But for us, it's a thing of, but we have to be strong. Like it's an expectation of strength that we're supposed to have.
Oh my gosh, Ruthina, this might be a whole different episode, but like that idea of the give and take of strength and sharing responsibility in a partnership and in a potential relationship too is a whole other conversation. And in church culture and different circles as well, what that means. But when you say called to task for it as a single Black woman, what do you mean by that? Meaning like you get called out saying like, look at you doing this and that's wrong.
It's a thing of, well, you're doing everything. How can I be a man if you don't let me do this? That's what it is.
Well, I got to feed myself, and
it's the reality of my life, So I'm so glad that we're having this together. Comments, people. Right. Thank you. Yeah, it's a deep struggle. And this is so true. People wonder what is wrong with you. This is deep. I have to read this.
Please read it because it's making me cry right now.
I was told by and this is a comment. I was told by a very good guy friend of mine that I was so strong that he wasn't sure who could marry me. Do you know?
Wow.
Yeah, you just stunned us. And you didn't stun me from shock because I've heard it. You stunned me because it's like, what do you say to that?
The first thing that comes to mind is that women are oftentimes in a conundrum of you got to be this, but you got to be this, and you have to be this, and you have to be accessible in this way to men. And it's not like men against women. I'm not saying that. I love men. They're my closest brothers and family members. I love them. But there is that thing that exists out in the world of like, we have to be everything to everybody and to ourselves. So we can't please everybody. And why can't we just be a full human being and this is what we look like. And then, yeah, you need to figure yourself out more, because then you're going to be with a strong woman, or just a woman who is confident, independent. And what does that mean? And why does it have to be an issue? Why can't it just be two humans that are
Right.
both have their weaknesses and their strengths?
Right. Why do I have to give up my strength so you can feel strong?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Like, really? So it's this balance that we shouldn't have to do.
Yes, agreed.
Like, I don't want to walk that, what do you call that line in the circus? I don't want to walk that. Yeah, I don't want to walk that tightrope, and I shouldn't have to walk that tightrope either.
I agree.
I shouldn't have to. So yeah, it's a weird thing. I will say thank God that that this person, because I know her, she found someone, so she's married at this time. So it does come, and she's actually an encouragement. And this is what we also have to look for as well. She is an encouragement for me because she got married later in life, her first marriage. And, you know, those are always, it's one thing when you see it in Hollywood and all that stuff, but when you see it happen close to you and in your age group.
Well, Facebook friend me. I want to see your amazing life.
Yeah, she has a beautiful, beautiful husband, and yeah, I can announce it now because she already announced it. And she's and this might be encouragement for you. I know for me, like I said, I'm not able to have kids, but she is having a baby, and she's in her 40s as well. And so it's in there. It's just like it's that trusting God's timing.
Yep.
It's just darn.
And yeah, for me, I really don't have a strong sense of how those kids are going to come, or if they're going to be stepkids, or if I'm even supposed to try, you know, depending on when and if. But like you said, I have a heart to be a nurturer, and whatever that looks like, you know, if maybe it's, yeah, I don't know, however it shows up.
Yeah. And so the 5th day was about perseverance, which was nice to talk. Perseverance is one of those qualities that hold up, we were not trying, but she says that she wasn't trying, they weren't trying. It just
it was a surprise.
It just kind of popped up. So
oh, hey, well, you know what? Congratulations. I'm happy for you guys.
But yeah, perseverance. I will say this, perseverance is one of those qualities I can look back over my life and say that I've had. It's not something that I'm proud, you know, or brag about, but I do know that perseverance is something that I've always had. I think it's because for me, it wasn't a choice. You press through. If you want to get to whatever it is that you're trying to get to, you press through. And so that was a big thing for me. I know the verse that it had for that particular day, which was Philippians 4:6, is a verse that I had to study regarding anxiety. I'm someone who suffers from anxiety, horrible anxiety attacks, and finding that verse a few years back and really meditating on it and speaking on it, that really helped me. But I'm not going to say that particularly helped with perseverance as much as it helped me in a process to get through anxiety. We're going to have to do a devotion about that.
Yeah, I'd be definitely up for that, because I have a similar struggle.
Yeah. And because, you know what, anxiety is something that people kind of mention here and there, but I don't think people know what it looks like. Yeah. And I think though anxiety looks very different for different people.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think it's going to be good. We're going to have to do that next year. I think we're going to have a good list of things to talk about next year. Just a reminder, you guys, there's only one more devotion left for the year. It's in December. And Yeah, but we're going to look at that. But with the fifth day, it really talked about giving thanks. And I'm going to be honest,
Mhm.
I wasn't like, it didn't kind of tickle anything in me about the giving thanks thing.
Mhm.
What got to me was understanding and grasping God's love.
Okay.
And you know what? I want you to talk about what I want you to talk
Oh,
about your comment, because
okay.
you talked about the endless pit of questioning. Oh, that's me. I want you to talk about your gratefulness. I want you to talk about your
Yeah.
comment.
So when my comment was on that day, on day 5, it was like, I basically said I like the idea of gratefulness being our lifeline to remember God's goodness and trustworthiness. So it's often time, like it's very rare for me to wake up and automatically be in a great mood. I kind of wake up thinking about everything I have to do, and like once in a while, I'll wake up and be like, "Praise Jesus, another morning." Usually it's like, oh, I feel anxious, or I feel frightened, or I feel like just overwhelmed, or whatever. So I'll get up, I'll take a walk, and as I begin to give thanks, and more specifically, just say, whatever it is I'm worried about, I just say, God, thank you that you're going to help me, I don't know, vote with wisdom today. Thank you that you're going to be with me in the midst of my podcast live stream with Ruthina. Thank you that you're going to be with me while I'm taping this audition that I have a little bit of nerves about. And as I'm feeling and expressing the gratefulness, my heart and my mind start to change a little bit, and they start to bend more toward God and toward just feeling a sense of hope. And I can't remember if we talked about this on another podcast. I believe we did, but that neurologically, it actually lubricates your brain in a way. So it helps keep the wires sort of open to hopefulness, neuroplasticity, sort of that kind of idea. I'll send you an article about it. But
Yeah, because I don't remember us talking about this.
oh, really? Okay, it must have been on another podcast on my one I was doing a while ago with another friend. But it actually changes the way we see things, and if we're hopeful and expecting and looking for good things to happen, then that's what we'll see. So our brain starts to look for those things. It's mind blowing to me because I'm a science nerd. I don't know if you are too, Luna, but I'm super like geeky about science, and the fact that Scripture says to meditate on the Word and to that our thoughts and our really defines who we are. It's like, okay, science is now proving that, but God's word is eternal, and like he knew this because he created us. So I love when those things match up. Anyway, long story short,
Mhm.
when I do that at the beginning of my day, it changes my whole day.
Yeah, I know for me, I have, you wake up in all kinds of different feelings. You
Yep.
could wake up thankful sometimes, you wake up angry sometimes, you wake
Mhm.
up in a good mood, you wake up in a bad mood. Especially being woman, ain't no telling what our hormones are going to do from day to day. One of the things that I'm going through with God right now, because I'm going through, girl, you guys, if you missed the beginning of this
Go back.
episode,
Gotta go
you
back.
gotta go back and watch it, because we have been very, very transparent from practically minute one.
Mhm.
But again, transparency, because I'm going through perimenopause,
Okay.
and so my hormones are kind of all over the place and everything,
Gotcha.
and so I've been going through this thing of God. Is this some kind of physiological thing? Is my anger with you physiological right now because you haven't given me a husband to kind of pour this out? And then I go through, when I said endless pit, it's an endless pit, because when I ask that question, I go,
Mhm.
well, maybe that's why you haven't given me someone, because I would go off on him right now. And maybe you're waiting for me to get through this season. It's an endless pit.
Mhm.
And then I have huge issues with God's sovereignty. This
Mhm.
whole idea of he can do whatever he wants when he wants to.
Mhm.
Um, but what I discovered, or what I settle into, is God's love. This whole idea of, yes, He can do whatever he wants to when he wants to, but whatever he does will always be because he loves
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day.
Yeah.
He will never do anything that's going to hurt us in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
His ultimate goal is our pleasure. It is his good pleasure for us to have pleasure
Mm-hmm.
because he loves us. And
Yeah.
I just began to, one of the things as I was reviewing for the episode is the quote within the devotion that said, "We cannot be hopeless if we are thankful."
Mm-hmm.
When you look back over things that he's consistent, talking about consistency. God is consistent.
Yeah.
If for nothing else, I was a guest on another podcast where I talked about, one of the reasons why I've stayed in this relationship for so long is because he is consistent. And that is a quality that many human relationships do not have.
Yeah.
And when it does have it, it won't be at the level that he has it.
Agreed. Yeah.
Right. And so the consistent part of that relationship is his love.
Mm-hmm.
And when I am focused on his love and thankful for his love, then the hope comes.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That. Yeah, that's beautiful.
So I have to constantly remember that he loves me so much. I cannot tell you, and I always get kind of googly. I cannot tell you how much I value that particular quality of our relationship. I am madly in love with Jesus, like madly in love with God, because of the fact that he loves me in a way that I can't begin to fathom.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, as angry as I get with him and as frustrated as I get with him, because of the fact that he loves me, that is what allows me to trust him. His love for me is never going to, it won't kill me. It won't destroy me. It's not for my bad. It's not to get, he doesn't take pleasure when I cry. It hurts him when I hurt. That allows me to trust him and makes me love him even the more. And it gives me the hope that I need for each day. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's really deep, Ruthina. That encourages me to go deeper in my understanding of how much God loves me. I thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Jeremiah 17:7. Look at that. It's where he
Okay.
he's because I went through a season where I had to look. I wanted him to say, I remember when I found that verse, I was like, you need to tell me that you love me. Yeah, they say you're love and all this stuff. No, I want to hear it from you. And he took me to that verse.
Really? I'm going to write it down right now so I don't forget. Jeremiah 17:7.
And he took me to that verse. I just want to make sure that I am giving you the right one.
Yeah.
17:7. I'm pretty sure it's 17:7. No, not 17:7, although that is a good one.
Okay.
Although that is a good one. So you'll definitely want to look that up. But it's where he says, I have loved you
with an everlasting love.
With an everlasting love. It's Jeremiah 31:3.
Okay.
It's Jeremiah 31:3. And so and I specifically look for verses for him to say that. But when he tells me that, it's enough. It's enough. And even in this moment, after a weird kind of day, wow. It's like, it's so funny. We sat here and we talked probably the first half about relationships and longing. And remember, I told you that I'm okay in my singleness. One of the reasons why I'm okay in my singleness is because of this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a reality in our relationship that parallels, doesn't compare, but parallels what the relationship vertically would look, horizontally would look like. Because I get angry with him, I get frustrated with him, and I'm sure he gets frustrated with me. But I don't ever have to question his love. Ever, ever have to question it. I don't ever have to question if he's trying to hurt me. I may say it out loud because I get angry, but the reality is the answer is always no.
Yeah.
The answer is always no. And to know that it's so freaking personal. It's so free to think of the fact that in the midst of creating this entire universe, he said, you know what? Aaron's going to like this color. I'm going to make a rose this color. Or Ruthina's going to get a kick out of this. I'm going to make the sky this, like things like that, like him painting things in nature with us in mind. Him building things, sprouting things out of the earth with us in mind. We're on his mind, Aaron. Like we're on his mind. And that sustains me and gives me, helps me in those times when I question.
That's so beautiful.
So I feel like with that, that's the episode.
Yeah. Wow. I have no comment. Like, yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. Because I want people to leave with that. I want people to leave with the love of God personally for you. I want you to hear his love. I want you to see his love every day. I want you to feel his love personally for you. Yeah, you go through Instagram and it may look like because of the success that you see that he loves them. But you know what? He loves you just as much. I want, you walk through the day and you see someone walking past you, smiling and all happy, and all this stuff is in your head. And you're like, God, what about me? And he's like, I got you. I love you. You think I don't love you that much? Like, there's a whole verse that talks about how a father does all these things for a child. How much more does he love you?
Yeah.
Remember that. Remember that. I want you to walk away with that. Yeah, that's how we're going to close out.
All right.
Hang on for a second. Let me, hang on for a second. So that's our devotion episode for the month. And I pray that no matter what, you walk away knowing and understanding God's love for you, feeling, seeing, hearing, just in accepting his love for you. In the meantime, remember, you guys, that we are here to listen and talk things over. The episode is up on RuthinaPorterfield.com on my blog, and you'll see it there where you can listen. You guys be blessed. I hope that what something said here touched you, uplifted you, and liberated you. In the meantime, peace, stay cool, and God bless.